morning, guys. We're still trying to get these transmission and final drive housings sealed up enough that I can put some oil in it. My mission at the moment is to get the two flanges for the PTO shafts. I put brand new seals in them, and I've made the gaskets. So I'm going to try and get those put on today. But before I can even put those on, I got to put the little stubby piece that is the coarse spline one. I had removed it, a week or so ago now. I needed to get the little gear that goes on here out of the way so that I could roll back the bull gear so that I could get the bearing carrier off. One thing after another. The gear never did come out. I managed to roll the gear far enough over to get it out of my way. So as I put this back in, go to the close-up camera. There's a real heavy keyway that's got to go in here. And then I got to slide the gear on, and then I got a snap ring. Then I can put the flanges on. There's a snap ring in the housing down there that prevents this gear from going too far in. There is a little collar on here that prevents the bearing from going too far out. And then when you put the flange over, that actually holds that in as well. And then, that snap ring stops it from coming apart the other way. Okay, let's just see if we can't. I got that camera going. My glasses on. As I start to put this in, I got to lift up that gear. Alrighty, guys. There was barely enough room for my hands down in there, let alone the cameras. So I gave up and shut them off. It did take me a little while to wiggle that back in and get the snap ring in, but I think you can see in the close-up camera, that's the snap ring, right where that tool is. That had to go back on. So that's all together. Everything turns nice and free. So let me rearrange these cameras and we'll see if we can't get these two flanges put back on here, and then I think I'm going for lunch. Let's see what we can do here. That's about as far back as I can get that camera. I got the close-up camera going here. We'll see what kind of fun we can get into. All right, I've already put this gasket in, and I cut it just a little snug. Not intentionally, but that's the way it worked out. And it wants to stay there. This gasket here needs to go. There's that ring. I don't think you can see it, but the ring is right there. That's in that bearing. Well, that stops that bearing from going further forward. And once I get the flange with the seal, that stops that bearing from coming out. Same thing with this side. There's a snap ring inside the housing that this bearing has come up against. And when I get this flange here put on, that stops that bearing from coming out. At least that's the way it looks to me. I am going to put a little wee bit of gasket cement on this gasket just to kind of get it in there and hold it in place. All right, just put a little wee bit of this blue silicone stuff on the back side of this gasket, and we'll see. Maybe I need to put a little bit more. It's sitting on top of that snap ring of mine. I should have cut, that one I cut tight. This one I should have cut a little bit looser. Yeah, this is going to be a wee little bit of a challenge. Okay, I need to put a little wee bit of gear oil where these two seals sit. And this container is just about empty. But let's get some on both of these. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put some on the seals themselves. Well, that gasket's in place, so let's put this one in first. I got to wiggle it over there. And there, that one's in. Now, I went and lost, didn't lose them, just misplaced all the bolts, so I went and got some new bolts. This one could be a bit more of a challenge just because that gasket's not held as nicely as I would like. Again, just rock it. Got to get past these splines. grab myself a little hook tool here just to manipulate that gasket a little bit. Let me just see if I can't get these bolts started. Well, all right, that actually went okay, fine. Pretty sure those gaskets seated down okay. All right, I got another flange on the other side. I'll rearrange these cameras and bring you back. See you in a minute. All right, guys, not a heck of a lot to this one. This is just a little wee triangle-shaped flange with 3 bolts. This accesses the front of the PTO shaft. If this tractor had been set up with a front PTO for whatever, there would have been another spline coming out back in here. The lever connected here somehow or other, and this would be different, and the disengaging fork would be in there. It gives you access. You can just see the front of the shaft and the bearing, but you really can't do much in there. The other day when I couldn't get the PTO to disconnect, I had pulled this off just to have a peek in there, but made a new gasket for it. I am going to put a little wee bit of this gasket cement on there. But yeah, this one's not a big whoop at all, actually. 3 bolts. I'm using that gasket cement on the stuff that's down low. I don't want any oil leaks. I don't really like it. Yeah, love-hate relationship, I guess. Sure hate it when you got to take it apart. That's all there is to that. I think actually next what I'm going to do is get rid of these timbers and my little homemade train carts. Hopefully I'm not taking this thing back out again. And then I'm going to look at the screen and the oil line on the other side that goes to the little pump that I went after so many weeks ago. Yeah, let me rearrange this and I'll bring you guys back. Give me a minute. Alright guys, we spent about the last half hour, 40 minutes cleaning silicone off of all these different pieces. I had some of the gaskets made, but I had to make a couple more. So this oil pickup deal is the one that came out of my tractor, I don't know how many videos back, and there's supposed to be a really, really fine screen on here. This screen was missing, which was why I started way back. I wanted to go and have a look at that oil pump because I was concerned that some pieces had gone through there. Well, that was a rabbit hole extraordinaire. And I'm glad I did it, obviously. This pickup came out of the 510, and it has the screen. It's just like a brass, very, very fine screen. Could a pile of gaskets have to go here? There's almost three layers here. So I'm not putting any silicone on this. I'm going to assume gaskets are going to do what they're supposed to do. I think I'm going to end up a big sticky mess if I put silicone on here. And this is all easy enough to access down the road if I discover I have a leak. So I've already put the one gasket on this here piece, and that has to go in. There's a flat side. That goes up, and I've already had that in. It goes in just fine. And I've cleaned all of the thread holes, and I've cleaned the bolts. Then there's this piece here. This is obviously the pickup. It picks up from the center of that deal, and it has a gasket that goes in the back, and that's going to seal between the flange and here. So that goes in. Then there's the pipe itself, and it has this square piece here. So the oil comes out of there, goes to here, and those are just bolt holes. I've actually made that gasket twice because I didn't realize I had it. That's fine. I'm going to put the bolt in here. And I got to try and sandwich all this together. I'm going to leave it loose though because I got to get a gasket. I got to get a gasket here on this end, which goes up there at the front, but I'll move the camera in a second. I think I'm going to put both bolts in here just for the fun of it to keep this gasket in its place. And now I got to get through this front flange, gasket, a couple gaskets, eh? That went quite easy actually. Oop, don't say it too soon. Okay, that goes there. Oh, no problem. Okay, I'm not going to tighten those just yet. Let me move that camera. So the opposite end of this pipe right here, that actually goes in to that little tiny gear pump that was wired. Remember, it had a little tiny short tube and there was an O-ring there. There's actually still a gasket here and it's bonded to the transmission real well. It was gooped up pretty good with silicone. I'm going to leave that gasket there and I'm simply going to put another gasket on top of it. And the two bolts that are for this are in pretty rough shape, so I've actually went and got a couple of brand new bolts and a washer and I've also cleaned out these holes in here, and I've checked them. Those holes don't go all the way through, so I check them with a little probe and make sure that my bolts aren't too long, and they are not. There is actually a little wee bit of tension on this, so I actually think I'm going to tighten those two first. Oh, I need to clean this transmission and paint it. I'm just having second thoughts here, but no, I'm going to go ahead. I want to try and get the rock shaft cover, the brakes, the rear axles, and then I'm going to go at this with a grinder and a wire wheel. So I do want to try and have all of the holes closed, so as try not to get dirt inside the transmission and the final drive. If this becomes too much of a problem to clean, well, I'll just pop this back off and I'll block these with some Gorilla Tape or something. And yes, that's torque to spec. Doing that a lot of years. 3/8 ratchet. Pretty good. Good. Okay, let's snug up this other end. And that is that. That feels good to get that piece back on. Okay, I think that's it for today, guys. Looking at that clock, I got a couple other things to do today. I think my next challenge is actually going to be the rear axles. I got the rock shaft cover up on its end over there. I'm doing some work on it at the same time. Just cleaning. I got to make a dipstick. Anyway, that'll be another video. So I think we're going to leave this one here. I definitely appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out in the shed with me. And yeah, you guys take care, and we'll see you next time in my old tractor shed. Ciao.